At 78, I finally stopped. It was the best decision of my life. A quiet revolution that freed me from a burden I didn't even realize I was carrying, and here are the 5 hard truths that led me there. For years, my identity was wrapped up in being the family's anchor, the ever-present, always helpful grandmother. I loved my children, and my grandchildren were the light of my life. There was immense joy in baking cookies, attending every school play, and driving them to countless activities. I believed my purpose was to give, to be needed, and that my worth was measured by how much I could do for them. It felt good, truly, to be indispensable, but beneath that warmth a subtle pressure began to build, like a quiet hum I couldn't quite place. What started as joyful offerings slowly, imperceptibly shifted. A casual request for a ride to soccer practice became an expectation for every game. My famous lasagna, once a holiday treat, was now a silent demand for every family dinner. My phone, once a connection, began to feel like a constant summons. I'd hear the ring, and instead of excitement, a small knot would tighten in my stomach. The feeling of wanting to help gradually eroded, replaced by the heavy weight of having to. I found myself agreeing to things I didn't have the energy for, smiling through exhaustion, terrified of disappointing anyone. The breaking point wasn't a grand explosion, but a quiet implosion one Tuesday night. I had just returned from a full day of ferrying grandchildren, followed by a frantic grocery run for my daughter, and then spent hours untangling a knotty family problem over the phone. I sank onto my living room sofa, the house silent and dark around me. My body ached, my head throbbed, but it was my spirit that felt utterly hollowed out. I looked at my reflection in the darkened window, a tired old woman staring back, and I asked myself, Eleanor, is this really what living means? That night, something inside me snapped, or perhaps finally woke up. That quiet breakdown led me to my first hard truth, and it's one I wish someone had told me years ago. Hard truth 1. Your energy isn't infinite. Asterisk. I used to believe I could do it all, that my love and dedication would somehow magically replenish my physical and emotional reserves. I ignored the aching joints, the sleepless nights, the constant mental checklists. I thought if I just pushed a little harder, rested a little less, I could keep up with the demands of a bustling, active family. But as we age, our bodies and minds simply don't have the boundless reserves they once did. Our energy is a precious, finite resource, and constantly pouring it out without refilling your own cup leads not to greater love but to burnout and resentment. You can't be everything to everyone without becoming nothing to yourself. I remember one particular weekend, a vivid illustration of this truth. Saturday started with a 7 a.m. drive to a soccer game an hour away, followed by cheering in the cold, then rushing back to help prepare for my granddaughter's birthday party. The party lasted until late afternoon, and before I could even sit down, my other daughter called, needing help picking up groceries for Sunday dinner. By the time I finally collapsed into bed that night, my knees were screaming, my head was pounding, and I realized I had missed the quiet afternoon I'd planned for myself, a book by the fireplace. The next morning, instead of feeling refreshed, I woke up feeling more drained than before. The joy of the weekend overshadowed by sheer physical exhaustion. That weekend, and many others like it, taught me the hidden cost of constantly overgiving. It wasn't just physical weariness, it was emotional burnout. My once vibrant garden, a source of peace, lay neglected. My painting easel, once a beloved escape, gathered dust. I found myself snapping at small things, feeling a simmering resentment towards the very people I loved. Neglecting my own health, my hobbies, and my precious quiet time didn't make me a better grandmother. It made me a tired, irritable one. I learned that true care for others isn't about emptying yourself, but about maintaining your own well-being so you can give from a place of genuine abundance, not desperate obligation. I sat in my favorite armchair, the one by the window where the afternoon sun always streamed in, holding an old, faded photograph of my grandchildren when they were much younger. The hardest part wasn't the endless running around, the extra cooking, or even the sleepless nights. It was the guilt. That quiet, persistent voice inside that told me I should always be there, always available, always saying yes. Even the thought of saying no would fill me with a deep, uncomfortable ache. It felt like a betrayal, a failure to live up to some unspoken grandmotherly ideal. This emotional weight, the burden of guilt, was far heavier than any physical task I ever undertook. It held me captive for years, always pushing me to give more, even when I had nothing left. It wasn't that my children or grandchildren ever explicitly demanded so much of me. It was more subtle, a quiet assumption that grew over time. A casual, "Grandma, could you just—" here, an appreciative nod there, and soon I was the one always filling in, always stepping up. Their unconscious reliance on me, while sweet in its own way, inadvertently solidified my role as the always available one. These unspoken expectations, often born of convenience and habit, made it incredibly difficult to change my behavior. I wondered if they even knew how much I was struggling, or if I just let them assume I was fine, happy to be perpetually busy. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Tell me, have you ever felt that silent pressure, that guilt that makes you say yes when you desperately want to say no? Your thoughts are important to me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. My exhaustion and that crushing guilt were only the beginning of my journey. While "your energy isn't infinite" was a critical realization, it only scratched the surface of what I truly needed to understand. The next truth hit me even harder, delving into the very heart of my relationships and the silent cost I was paying. I gave and gave, but I realized my grandchildren rarely saw the cost. This truth was a bitter pill. Looking back, after one particularly bustling family dinner, I remember standing in my kitchen, staring at a stack of unwashed dishes, the remnants of a meal I'd spent hours preparing. The house was quiet again, everyone gone, and the silence felt heavier than usual. That's when it truly hit me. Hard truth, too, they don't see your sacrifices. It wasn't that they were ungrateful or malicious. Not at all. It was simply that my efforts, my time, my aching back, had become invisible, just part of the background hum of Grandma being Grandma. They assumed the food appeared, the house was clean, the rides were given, without ever truly comprehending the energy and love that went into each act. And the disappointment, that quiet ache of unacknowledged effort, started to fester. You can't force appreciation, and realizing that painful truth was a hard lesson indeed. I poured my heart into a gift, only to have it barely acknowledged. It hurt more than you think. I remember one Christmas, I spent weeks knitting a special blanket for my granddaughter, Clara. Her favorite color, intricately patterned, each stitch a quiet act of love, late into the night. My fingers ached, my eyes tired, but I envisioned her face lighting up with genuine delight. When I gave it to her, she unwrapped it quickly, said a hurried, "Thanks, Grandma," and immediately turned her attention to a new video game. She was just a child, excited by the shiny and new, I know. But that fleeting glance, that quick dismissal, felt like a punch to my gut. All those hours, all that dedicated love, reduced to polite indifference. I felt a subtle sigh escape me, a quiet sadness no one else noticed. It wasn't just about the blanket, it was about the countless other times I'd rearranged my life, cooked a favorite meal, or driven miles, only to feel like a service rather than a cherished individual. I became a background character in my own family story. Was this what I signed up for? At family gatherings, I'd find myself sitting quietly, observing my grandchildren bustle around, laughing, sharing their lives with everyone but me. I was physically present, yes, but not truly connecting. Wondrous. My identity had slowly been whittled down to the one who helps, the one who bakes, the one who drives. I yearned for deeper conversations, for them to ask about ganot my day, ganot my interests. I wanted them to see me as Eleanor, not just Grandma who provides. It was a peculiar loneliness, feeling invisible even when surrounded by the people I loved most. I wanted to be seen for who I was, not just for what I could do. The biggest lie I told myself for years, the one that kept me tethered to that constant rush, was this: if I stopped doing everything, they'd stop loving me. It sounds foolish now, doesn't it? But deep down, that fear was very real. I worried that my grandchildren's affection, their smiles, their requests, were all tied to my ability to provide, to show up, to fix, to bake. It felt like a transaction, a silent agreement, where my love was proven by my service. But then, a truly profound realization hit me, a hard truth that shook the very foundation of my beliefs. Hard truth. 3. Love isn't contingent on pleasing. Asterisk. True love, I discovered, isn't something you earn by exhausting yourself. It isn't a prize for the most dedicated chauffeur or the best baker. It's simply part Zen. It's a gift, not a wage. And understanding that, truly understanding it, began to set me free. My first real test of this truth came during a particularly hectic spring. My granddaughter Lily had a school play, and I had promised to go. But I also had a long-standing appointment with my doctor that day. A checkup I couldn't easily reschedule, and frankly, I was already feeling completely run down. My heart pounded as I picked up the phone. Saying no felt like a betrayal, like I was letting her down, like I was choosing myself over her. My voice actually shook as I explained, gently, that I wouldn't be able to make it. I braced myself for the disappointment, the quiet sigh, maybe even a hint of guilt-tripping, but it didn't come. Lily, after a moment of silence, simply said, "Oh, okay, Grandma, well, I'll tell you all about it." And that was it. My anxiety, which had been a tight knot in my stomach all day, began to loosen. Later that evening, sitting in my quiet living room, without the rush and the worry, I realized something truly remarkable. The world hadn't ended. Lily still loved me. And I had a peaceful evening to myself, something I hadn't allowed in months. The first time I said no, my heart pounded, but what happened next changed everything. That small act of self-prioritization, that single, difficult no, didn't diminish their love one bit. In fact, it did something far more important. It opened the door for something real. It showed me that their affection wasn't a fragile thing that would shatter if I didn't constantly prop it up with favors and duties. My grandchildren loved, to Mrs. Healy, Eleanor, their grandmother, not just the woman who cooked the best cookies or drove them to soccer practice. That day, my biggest fear vanished. I learned that true love doesn't demand. It simply is. It's a love that values my presence, my stories, my laughter, far more than my endless efforts. It's a love that understands I have my own life too. And in that understanding, our connection became deeper, more honest, and far less burdened. This revelation about unconditional love was a turning point. It taught me that saying no wasn't a selfish act. It was an act of self-respect. When I started valuing my own time, my own energy, and my own needs, I noticed a shift. Not just in my family's subtle responses, but within myself. I felt more confident, more grounded. I realized that my worth wasn't measured by how much I sacrificed, but by who I was as a person, with my own unique joys and wisdom to share. You see, you have inherent worth simply by being you. You don't need to earn love or respect through constant pleasing. Your peace, your energy, and your self-respect are invaluable. Saying no wasn't selfish. It was an act of self-respect. And it changed everything. If you've ever felt like your love was a transaction, if you felt like you had to earn your place or your worth, please comment number 3 below. Let me know you're here and that you understand this journey. Your stories are so important, and they help all of us feel less alone. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any more videos. Your support truly helps us continue creating content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move on to the 4th hard truth I learned, one that hit me deeply. You lose yourself in their demands. Asterisk. Before I made these changes, I didn't realize how much of myself I had slowly, almost imperceptibly, given away. My own interests, My little hobbies, the things that made Syme Eleanor, had faded into the background. I was so busy being Grandma Eleanor who bakes the best cookies, or Grandma Eleanor who always drives to soccer practice, that I forgot who Eleanor was when she wasn't doing something for someone else. I felt like just a grandmother, a role, instead of a multifaceted individual with her own dreams and desires. It wasn't that I didn't love being a grandmother, but I started to wonder if that was all I was. I remember my small art corner in the spare room. For years, it was my sanctuary, filled with canvases and the scent of oil paints. I loved to paint landscapes, capturing the quiet beauty I saw around me. But as the requests from my family grew, so did the dust on my easel. There was always a grandchild to pick up, a meal to prepare, a school project to help with. "I'll paint tomorrow," I'd tell myself, but tomorrow never came. The guilt would creep in. How can I spend hours painting when my daughter needs help with the kids? The thought felt selfish, so my paintbrushes sat gathering dust. My canvas remained empty, a silent testament to the parts of myself I was neglecting, a beautiful, unfinished piece of Xenon life. I didn't realize I was painting over my own life, brushstroke by brushstroke, with the colors of obligation. It all came to a head one quiet afternoon. I was getting ready for a rare outing, just for myself, and I caught my reflection in the mirror. I looked tired, not just physically, but in my eyes. The spark felt dimmer. I peered closer, really looking, and I had a profound, almost unsettling realization. I barely recognized the woman staring back. Who was this person? Where was the vibrant, creative Eleanor who loved to lose herself in a painting or spend hours tending her garden? She was still there, I knew, but she was buried under layers of perceived duty and expectation. That moment was a turning point. It ignited a fierce desire within me to reclaim her, to remember who I was, beyond the roles I played for others. Reclaiming my canvas, literally, became a symbol of my journey. Once I started setting those small boundaries, once I allowed myself the time and space, I picked up those dusty paintbrushes again. The joy that flooded me was immense, like a long-lost friend returning home. And it wasn't just painting. I started spending more time in my garden, feeling the soil between my fingers, reconnecting with the earth. These activities weren't just hobbies. They were lifelines. They reconnected me to my true identity, to the essence of who I was outside of my family role. It showed me the vital importance of personal pursuits for our well-being as seniors. The moment I picked up my paintbrush again, I remembered who I was. It was pure liberation. This is the hardest truth, but the most liberating. Setting boundaries didn't push them away. It brought us closer. When I began this journey, I was terrified. I truly believed that if I started saying, no, if I put my own needs first, my grandchildren would simply drift away. I imagined disappointed faces, fewer calls, and eventually, just silence. But the reality was nothing like what I had feared. In fact, it was the opposite. I discovered that setting healthy boundaries isn't about creating distance. It's about building a stronger foundation for genuine connection. It's about teaching mutual respect, a respect that had been missing because I hadn't respected myself enough to ask for it. It might feel counterintuitive, but true love and connection thrive not on endless giving, but on healthy limits and understanding. The first time I spoke my truth, my voice shook. But it was the most important conversation I ever had. I remember my grandson Mark called one Tuesday afternoon. He needed me to pick up his youngest from school because he had an unexpected meeting. In the past, I would have said yes without a second thought, rearranging my entire day. But this time, I had a doctor's appointment I couldn't miss, one I'd already put off for weeks. My heart pounded as I took a deep breath. "Mark," I said, "I'm so sorry, but I can't today. I have a medical appointment I really need to keep." There was a pause, a long one. I braced myself for the disappointment, the guilt. He sounded a bit surprised, even a little put out, but then he simply said, "Oh, okay, Grandma, I'll figure something out." It was a small moment, but for me, it was monumental. I hung up the phone, still trembling, but a wave of relief washed over me. I hadn't crumbled. The world hadn't ended. The magic happened when they started respecting my no. Our bond became stronger than ever. After that difficult conversation with Mark, I noticed a subtle shift. He didn't stop calling, but his requests became more considerate. He'd ask, "Are you free on Thursday, Grandma? No worries if not." Or, "I was wondering if you had time next week, too, but please, only if it fits your schedule." My granddaughter, Sarah, even offered to come over and help me with my gardening one afternoon, just to spend time together, not because she needed anything from me. It was a revelation. They weren't just seeing what I could do for them. They were starting to see me. The relationships felt less like transactions and more like genuine connections built on mutual care and understanding. It was a beautiful, unexpected gift. My relationships are deeper, more honest, and filled with true joy. This is the life I always wanted. Now, when I spend time with my grandchildren, it's because I genuinely want to be there, not because I feel obligated. We share laughs, stories, and quiet moments that feel infinitely more precious than any errand I ever ran. They know I have my own life, my own passions, and my own boundaries, and that respect has made our bond richer. It's a healthier dynamic for everyone. I'm no longer just the always available grandmother. I'm Eleanor, a vibrant woman who loves her family dearly, but also loves herself enough to prioritize her own well-being. This newfound balance has brought a profound sense of peace and contentment into my life, a peace I wish for all of you. This is what my life looks like now, peaceful, purposeful, and genuinely happy. It could be yours too. Looking back, I can hardly believe the change. My mornings now begin not with a frantic dash to meet someone else's schedule, but with a quiet cup of tea in my sunlit living room, or a gentle stroll through this very garden. These hands, once aching from endless tasks for others, now find joy in nurturing my roses, or picking up a paintbrush to capture the light filtering through the leaves. I've rediscovered the simple pleasures that make life truly rich. The peace I've gained is immeasurable. And the most beautiful part? My grandchildren, they still visit. But now, it's different. They come because they want to, not because they expect something. They bring their stories and their laughter, and we connect on a deeper, more authentic level. They see time, Eleanor, not just the always available grandma. They appreciate my presence, not just my presence or my labor. This life, on my own terms, is everything I wished for, but never dared to claim. Don't wait for exhaustion to hit. Your peace, your energy, and your true connections are worth fighting for. Start today. My journey wasn't easy, but it led me to these 5 hard truths. Your energy isn't infinite. They often don't see your sacrifices. Love isn't contingent on pleasing. You can lose yourself in their demands. And setting boundaries actually creates deeper, more respectful connections. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're losing yourself in the endless pursuit of pleasing everyone, know that you have the power to change it. Your well-being matters. Your peace matters. You are worthy of a life that feels authentic to you. Don't let guilt or the fear of disappointment keep you from living your best years. Take that first small step towards reclaiming your time, your energy, and your precious self. You deserve it. Thank you for joining me today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you.